First, Bo MASCOE enters the transfer portal, and we're going to also talk about the general state of the defense going forward into 2026. So, what do you think about this development, Gabe, and about the state of the defense generally?
Yeah, it kind of sucks because there was definitely an argument that he was our best performing defensive player last year. He had 48 total tackles compared to 49 the year prior. So roughly the same amount of passes deflected at 4. He led the team with 2 forced fumbles, and he had a 68-yard interception return that we remember against Miami of Ohio in week 2. So it definitely sucks. He's not the only one to leave too. Defensive captain Jordan Walker has announced that he will be entering the transfer portal. He actually announced that really closely after the season ended, meaning it was probably already on his mind. He has 1 more year of eligibility, 25 tackles as a defensive tackle, and he only had 1 sack to the 4, but he had a fumble recovery as well. So more tackles, less sacks. It just sucks because these are 2 players that, in a defense that's somewhat rattled, they were of higher quality in compared to the rest of the players. So I'm calling on Jacoby Henderson to take a major leap next year. A lot of Scarlet Nation wasn't exactly thrilled with how he played, but he still has 1 more year of eligibility, and I would expect him to stay a Scarlet Knight. If we don't get anyone big time from the portal, he's going to have an improved role, and it's a little scary, but it's, in his shoes, a good challenge because instead of being cornerback 3 and getting beat and targeted every play, he has a chance to lock in and be a more special corner for Rutgers. When we're losing Bo MASCOE via the portal, we're losing Cam Miller to probably the NFL draft at this point because he has no more years of eligibility. Jacoby Henderson needs to take a leap. Jet Elad, who was probably our best defensive player, he is going to declare for the draft. He already stretched out his eligibility a little bit. So Jacoby Henderson, it's your time. And we do need other players, absolutely, because we got 9 new players starting last year. Most of them were seniors, so it's going to be fresh again, whether it's internally or via the portal. It's going to be mostly new sets of players. The only names I can think of returning from the starting caliber of the depth chart from last year were Dariel Jabome and Jacoby Henderson. So it's going to be a totally new year once again, which last year was disappointing, but this year can't really get worse. So at least there's that.
Yeah, and I guess I have a question, which is when I look at Bo MASCOE's statistics, 30 solo tackles in 12 games this year, 23 assists for a total of 53 tackles with 1 interception. Jordan Walker played in 11 games. He had, 9 solo tackles, 19 assists for 28 total tackles.
Oh, that was last year, that one for Jordan Walker.
Oh, it says 2025 stats.
Oh, that's weird because you said 9 and 10, and here on ESPN it says that's 2024.
Oh, well, I'm going off the Rutgers website, which says
okay.
25. It's all good. So my point being, their performance was not extraordinary. Let's just put it that way. They didn't, play to an elite level. So, when I think of people who want to transfer, I think of players who want to go for more money and to a more elite level. I don't necessarily see that happening with either player. So what do you think the reasoning is behind their decision?
Well, for Jordan Walker, also, what's up, Foo in the comment section.
Great to see you as always.
Yes, sir. Loyal as soil. So appreciate that. So for Jordan Walker, I think it's really just he wants a change of scenery. He's been here last year and this year, contributed. He's been solid, but like you said, not astounding. But he's proven that he's a leader, and he wants a change of scenery to, I guess, challenge himself. And what hardworking student athlete is? Oh, you have no idea. He was going off in the chat last night. Not about Bo, just he was going on a tirade. So
yes, I was.
I hope that your blood pressure's cooled down a little bit.
No, it hasn't. I'm getting ready to explode, so you should keep talking so I don't go off the rails.
Cool. So Jordan Walker, like I said, I think he wants a challenge and he wants a new culture. feel like at this point maybe he doesn't like Rutgers that much. I'm not trying to put words in his mouth. If he has his own reasons, then so be it. For Bo Masco, he is transferring for one of two reasons, and I can't think of any others. One is he wants to go to a better school, maybe be cornerback 2 or 3, or maybe even 4, and work up the depth chart and try to be on a winning team, better culture, and present himself as a prospect in the NFL that way. The other reason that I can think of is the polar opposite. Maybe he wants to go to a G5 school or Pac-12, Big 12 school, ACC, be cornerback 1 on a team that is probably worse than Rutgers, but he gets his chance to shine. So those are the two reasons I can think of. And also, in a worse program, he would probably get more money. So it's one of those two reasons. I still wish Bo the best of luck because Bo knows he's played here for 3 years. He has 99 total tackles, 58 solo, 48 assisted, 8 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, 2 interceptions for 68 yards of return. And he had himself an okay year last year in a defense that was throttled with injury, throttled with inconsistent play.
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned before was, not just about Bo Masco or Jordan Walker. It's also about the defense and the fact that we're not going to have more than a couple players who are starting back on defense. So it's going to be an entirely new defense. And one of the concerns I have is who's that going to be and what kind of depth we're going to have. Because, when I look at the team statistics from this year, our defense allowed an average of 31.8 points per game.
Yeah.
They allowed 279 first downs, 118 rushing, 142 passing. They allowed, total rushing yards of 2,519 and total passing yards of 2,675. So that tells me that offenses were not only enabled to move the ball substantially, but they were also able to do so in a balanced way. And that led to really a wasted season for an offense that was quite good and, up there in the Big Ten. So my concern is we say it can't get any worse, but this year our defense had a lot of transfers. I suspect next year will be the same thing. What gives us any reason to think it's not going to be the same or if not worse? And, Jason says, what hardworking student athlete is Adam trashing now? I'll tell it like it is. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to tell it like it is. And I appreciate and support Rutgers and how hard they work. But hard work isn't enough. I work hard too. Okay? But at some point, production matters and wins matter. And when I look at those statistics on the defensive side, look, let's also go game by game, Gabe. Against Ohio, we allow 31 points. Miami, 17. Norfolk State, 10. But now let's get into the Big Ten schedule. 38 against Iowa, 31 against Minnesota, 38 against Washington, 56 against Oregon, 24 against Purdue, 35 against Illinois, 20 against Maryland, 42 against Ohio State, and 40 against Penn State. And I think what stuck out in the Penn State game, which is a game we certainly could have and should have won, when Katron Allen and Nick Singleton ran the ball, it must have been 5 or 6 times. They, first of all, didn't get touched for about 5 or 6 yards, but we're going on these explosive runs. So my point is I'm not as concerned about the transfers as I am about the broader state of the defense.
Well, you talk about not getting touched for the first 5 or 6 yards. And I'd say getting back to the line of scrimmage is often on the defensive front, the front 4. And it's going to be an entirely new front 4 starting. Eric O'Neill, Sr., Jordan Thompson, Sr., Jordan Walker transferring, Zaire Ngoe, Sr., Bradley Weaver, Sr. So I'm not really concerned in the front 4 at this point because the product that we had on the field that didn't live up to expectations, it's not going to be returning at all next year, and it's going to be a new coach too, both defensive coordinator and defensive line coach. In terms of bringing back production, Abram Wright, redshirt sophomore, he's definitely a candidate to stay or leave. Dariel Jabome, I would expect to stay at this point. I would be shocked if he leaves. We know transferring. God bless your soul. And Kaj Sanders, sophomore free safety. I'm a little concerned that he's going to enter the portal. We'll have to see how that holds up. So I'm more saying that when it comes to the run game, the front four is going to be entirely new. Daryl Jabome, I expect to have definitely a better year next year. And we need to see who we hire. That's the first step in this. Is we have 2 weeks until the portal starts officially. And I expect to hire somebody, whether it's the defensive coordinator, defensive line coach, linebackers coach. I expect somebody to be hired. So I think we'll have some staff news before we have players coming in.
That's fair enough. But you know what? I got my cell phone here, and what I'm thinking about doing is I'm thinking about dialing 911. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to call 911, and I'm going to say I'm calling because of severe concern about the Rutgers defense. And I'll tell you why. Rarely, and I've been following college football for about 40 years, rarely have I seen a situation where a team is going to have to practically replace their entire defense. And they're replacing a defense that was very poor. I mean, you want to have a defense with returning starters year after year so they can mesh as a team. They can communicate well together. They all know the scheme well, and they can be a true team on defense. What I'm concerned about is that we're going to get people in the portal, and it's going to be the same problem, if not worse. The second thing I'm really concerned about is you're just not an elite defense because you have 11 very good starters. You have to have depth.
Yeah.
You have to have good people, at the twos and the threes, the second, third string have to be able to come in there situationally and be effective. I see this as essentially a very dangerous period for Rutgers football because they're essentially going to be reworking an entire defense that played very poorly, and I don't see them having the depth to be successful. And that not only affects next year, it affects year after year. It compounds itself. So I think it's a situation that I'm not sure how we remedy it, and I think it's a huge concern not only for next year but going forward.
Yeah, I've been very vocal about Wadiq Collier. I really think that he is special. I mean, he was a 4-star class of 2026, but then he reclassified to last year. So this was his freshman year. I hope that he stays and he next year has playing time in the Big Ten consistently. I think that he has anchor of the defense potential. Maybe not anchor next year, but if we have him play for Rutgers University for his entire collegiate career, he will be special for the Scarlet Knights. Braxton Kyle, I'm not as certain about, but I mean, we don't have younger guys playing out there anyways against Big Ten competition, so it's all speculation anyways. The spring game matters. We saw how the defense got torched by AJ Surace and company in the spring game last year, and I thought you were overreacting, but unfortunately you nailed it. You hit the nail in the coffin with that. The defense that struggled against the secondary offense. Man, we should have known right then and there that something had to change.
Yeah, I watched that spring game, and AJ Surace did a great job. He threw for over, I think, 250 yards against the defense. And what I saw this year, and look, I'm not trying to sit here and criticize the players and make them feel bad. I know they work hard, and certainly we support them, but the results are what they are. All right. And I just saw, for example, against Penn State, they were getting gashed left and right. And I saw at times, the interesting thing is, at times, the defense played well. When you look at that first half against Ohio State, I was impressed that for the first 2 quarters, they held them, I believe it was to 17 points. And
less, I think it was 13.
Whatever it was, it would have probably been less if we hadn't had the personal foul call against Bradley Weaver for that hit on Julian Sand. But the defense was the worst I've seen in a while. And when you look at next year, it's not a matter of any of these guys, many of them coming back. We're going to have a whole new set of players. And where are we getting them from? Are they going to be able to mesh well? Are they going to be able to communicate well, learn the scheme? And what kind of depth are we going to have? I mean, if you look at the Rutgers schedule, we could talk about this. It's not as bad as it was last year. But, I mean, they're going to have, starting off with UMass. That's a win. But then they're going straight to Boston College, and that's no guarantee. They come home against Howard, Then they're going at Maryland. That's no guarantee either. At Northwestern, at Penn State, home against Indiana, Michigan, Nebraska, USC, at
I
Camp
think
Randall in
at Penn
Wisconsin.
State, I mean, we could lose against Northwestern. We could lose any of the games theoretically, except for, you would think except for Howard. But I think the real test is going to be at Penn State. If we get blown out at Penn State, we're in for a rough year. If we can keep it close, and again, you don't want to accept moral victories, but against Penn State at State College, Pennsylvania, you would expect year after year to get blown out if you're Rutgers. So, we're coming off a game where we should have beat Penn State this year. It was in Piscataway. If next year, with Penn State having less talent, because unless they hit diamond after diamond in the portal, they're going to have less talent. They have no commits coming in or they had no signing day commits, should I say, early signing day commits in the class of 2026. They're losing their entire offense. They already lost Drew Aller via injury and eligibility, and then they lose both running backs that are their entire identity on offense. They have a number of offensive linemen, defensive linemen declaring for the draft. So it's a year where, we said we could beat Penn State this year because of their underperformance, but next year we can beat them based on our roster comparing to theirs. So that's going to be the biggest challenge to me. It's going to be next year's Iowa or Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly get your points, but I have to respectfully disagree. I think we're going to get blown out, and I think we're going to get blown out because we don't have a defense right now.
Right now, we don't.
We don't have a defense, and it's hard for me to believe that in the course of the next 9 months, we're going to get all these transfers that are suddenly going to elevate the defense. And it goes to the broader point I'm trying to make, which I hate to say it, and I say it with disappointment. I am concerned about the trajectory of the program over the next 5 years because like I said before, when you have a defense like we had this year, and then most of them leaving, it raises concerns about A, who are you going to get that's going to improve the defense, and B, how are you going to have any of the kind of depth that you need? I mean, we are playing in the Big Ten. We're playing Indiana. We're playing Michigan. We're playing USC. We're playing at Penn State. We're playing Nebraska. We're playing at Camp Randall in Wisconsin. If we're going to be competitive in this league, we're going to have at least, competent play on both sides of the ball. And the last 2 years, what we've had is a great offense with Kyle Benongai, of course. And then this year, Ethan had a much better year, and Antoine was great, as was KJ and Ian. But the defensive issues are going to be a problem to an extent that I worry that we're going to be in the same boat year after year, because you don't just build a great defense in 1 year. You build a great defense over several years, and we're at a point where I think, and Jason, I know Jason probably doesn't like, we need more fun topics and trash the team every show until I'm not trashing the team. I'm from New Jersey. I'm moving back to New Jersey in a few weeks.
Jason, I think you're right, though.
And you guys can trash me and you can criticize me, but Jesus Christ, I want to see something on the field other than what I saw this year, the year before, and for the majority of the last 25 years. And it seems like, I don't know, is it me, or does it seem like Rutgers fans are kind of like, oh, this is the way it is? Well, I don't want it to be this way, and I don't like it. And we certainly have the potential to be a really, really good team. Now, in terms of fun topics, I'm going to tell a little.
You're giving us some free ideas here. You can charge for this.
Yeah, and when I go back to New Jersey, I may go back down to New Brunswick. They have some nice restaurants down there, but I always recommend Steve Sizzlin Steaks in Lyndhurst. Jason, best away game concession items. I'm not sure. I will say this though: when I was at the Penn State game, I was in section 127, row 1, and I walked all the way up to the concession stand, and for a 50-year-old guy, pretty much an accomplishment. And then I go to one of the concession stands, and it said they were offering sangria. So I get these 2 big sangrias, and then I take out my money and I give it to the lady, and she's like, I'm sorry, we don't take cash. I'm like,
What?
what do you mean you don't take cash? She's like, but she's like, what you can do is you can walk down about 100 yards, and there's a machine here that you can put cash into, and it gives you a temporary card. It wasn't 100 yards. It was like a half a mile that I walked all the way across the stadium. Then I went back and got my sangria, and there was like no wine in it. It just tasted like fruit punch. So my
And it
vote,
was cold out.
it was freezing. Worst concession stand at Rutgers is the place where they offer the sangria. Don't go there. It's in section 127, right above.
So are you calling for its dismantlement because of that whole experience?
I am calling for it to be dismantled, and I am calling for the North Texas quarterback to come to
Oh,
Rutgers for a
dude.
quarterback competition.
Drew Messmaker, if you come here, okay, there's not going to be a quarterback competition if he comes here. He is quarterback one if he comes here. Most passing yards in all of FBS. And he has, I believe, North Texas, AAC, not ACC, but they have played some really good competition this year. They played Tulane, and that was their only loss, but they still put up, I mean, they allowed like 50 something points, but they still put up, I believe 35. Drew Messmaker is a top 10 quarterback in college football, even with the competition being inferior. No, he is. He is.
All hail to Drew Bestamaker. Come
Yes.
to Rutgers.
But, oh, man, with that being said, he's ending up at Indiana or Penn State.
Yeah, that could be the case. And Jason says it's been cashless for years. That's the problem, Jason. I've lived in the South for about 14 years, and I haven't been up with the times. But I forgot to add the detail to the story, which was I took out my bank card to try to pay with that, and it got rejected because the bank in Georgia suspects fraud. So that wasn't fun. But I will tell you something about Shea Stadium against Penn State. It was a great, great atmosphere. I mean, no other stadium do you go to where they're playing Bon Jovi, lighting off little fireworks, and that student section is going berserk. I mean, it was a great New Jersey atmosphere. But I think that, I don't mean to always be negative, but what I would not be negative if I saw progress. And right now I'm concerned about that. But Shea Stadium was definitely cool. Although I couldn't find my car afterwards, so it took me 2 hours to get to my car because I was in the red lot, and I just really blew past it and was somewhere I don't know, and that was unfortunate. But it was a great experience.
Yeah, and I still haven't had the privilege of going to a Rutgers game as of yet, but obviously it's the first thing I do once I have money to spend. And we need to backtrack because that was like 5-10 minutes right there of it all started because of freaking Jason O, man, with the ranking cheerleaders or something. Yeah, I don't know if I can do that without getting in trouble, but if we're gonna digress, we were talking about the level of skill. Oh yes, okay, here was my point. As for the transfer portal with the defense, we did have an impressive transfer portal last year on defense. It just didn't freaking execute. But Greg Schiano was great at recruiting the guys. And, we got guys from G5 schools, we got guys from FCS, and we got guys from the Big Ten. And all of them, or most of them, I should say, underperformed, but were good prospects, either upgrading to the Big Ten or transferring over to have a bigger role. So if he can do that once, and we had very, very bad luck when it came to the execution, he can do it again. His whole recruiting thing is, I am a defensive-minded coach. Even if we have no defensive staff right now, trust me, I am the first in command when it comes to the defense, and I will get you to the NFL, or I will get you to playing with a competent defender aside from you.